why people are mostly excited moving to Bali.
Bali is definitely an extremely attractive place to move in temporary because the cost of living and the quality of living, this ratio is exceptional.
The demand is still there, but it's not so much supply.
It's the only area that I know the demand is way above the supply.
So the moment the market opens, everyone is just rushing in. The moment they have land, well, they do need to do something with it.
All right, so I guess when we're talking about Southeast Asia, tropical countries, we have, like Thailand, Bali, and even Philippines. But why, for now, people are mostly excited or focusing on moving to Bali?
Moving or visiting, because I think both trends are there.
Yeah.
Moving, I think, mainly because the world is kind of in a turbulence state right now, with the uncertainty of the U.S. election, war in Europe between Russia and Ukraine, situation around Israel and Gaza, a situation around Taiwan and China. So we're kind of entering, a turbulence period for the planet overall, and for people that have some wealth accumulated and that are kind of location independent, Bali is definitely an extremely attractive place to move in temporary because the cost of living and the quality of living, this ratio is exceptional in Bali. Also, ability to do businesses in F&B and service industry and real estate is also like vast opportunities to do it. International schools, food scene overall, ability to travel from Bali to different parts of Asia and, kind of having like a Bali as your home, and then you travel all over the region. Relatively low taxation, stable currency, kind of predictable government course for the next number of years. So it all looks like a safe harbor.
I see.
So that's why I think people are moving here, and it's a valid, absolutely valid decision for anyone to move here. I think if they feel like it. And for tourism, I just think that Bali was kind of underrated for a number of time and was kind of hardly accessible. It wasn't among the top destination trends up until, like in my opinion, up until maybe 2018 or something, and then the pandemic kind of slowed it down again.
Yeah.
And now we see the tourism booming because of the flights are relatively cheap, and Bali has been on almost every chart and tourism awards since, for the last 5 years or so. So that's why the vast majority is only coming to Bali. But even that, if we look at the numbers of tourist arrivals, international tourist arrivals, we're still behind 2019, mainly because the Chinese market is not there anymore. It's probably 10 times less than it was before pandemic.
Yeah, but I think when it comes to businesses, especially after the pandemic, it's like everything is just growing rapidly. As we can see in the Canggu, in the Bukit area, we're talking about foreigners like making new businesses, building new villas and something like that. I think it comes to our minds, that we worried about what's going to happen within 2 years or 5 years or 10 years if we're looking at it like growing so fast. Like, what's going to happen?
What I see after the pandemic was especially the boom in developments and sales is because of the reduction of pricing in leasehold markets. We do see those. Back then I was still working in a different company. The land pricing is just really, really insanely cheap. So the moment the market opens, everyone is just rushing in. Hey, I want land. And then the moment they have land, well, they do need to do something with it. And I think not all, a lot of the developers now is because they are one of the golden ticket holder of those kind of pricing. Perhaps not anymore in terms of 2024 because they would have already sold it. Hopefully for them. If not, then they're in trouble.
Well, the land prices are not cheap anymore.
Yeah.
Now,
No.
like they're similar to prices in Miami, for example. In Florida, I mean, generally, and then so the prices, because it's so limited, the amount of land in touristic areas is so limited that it's already actually very high at the moment. But this doesn't stop developers.
No.
The buyer's market is also still there. Talking about kind of like a short-term situation in Bali, I think infrastructure in terms of logistics need to catch up with what's going on, because we can see various traffic problems. I see the government is kind of trying to tackle it, but I would say they're not doing enough to fix this. But I'm hoping that they have plans in mind that they're going to implement and execute over the course of the next few years, so we can see this infrastructure, the roads basically built, and it's going to give a huge relief. And I also think that still the market is probably a little bit saturated with the development right now, and the touristic traffic is kind of catching up with it. So I think we'll have maybe another year or a year and a half until we see another spike in the growth. So now I think the market is going to be catching up with the volume of properties developed, and then we're going to see another repeating process of construction development boom in all the areas, and new areas being also developed like Kedungu.
Okay, so what's going on in Kedungu actually? And yeah, I'm curious, like what's going on in there, because I know that there's a lot of like some investors from other countries. They're putting so much money in Bali, and they're building like a village instead of like one villa. They're building like this whole communities, like they're moving there. I know that they had one.
Mention names.
Yeah, I'm not gonna mention names. I'm just gonna mention areas.
Yeah, good.
In a couple of areas, it's happening. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
What happened.
So, like I said, it has this powerful driver of having surfing breaks there and wide roads and kind of very nice planning of the infrastructure. They also have a project of a big international school. It already have all kinds of shops and cafes and restaurants and a resort, and even beach clubs. So I think it's just a very nice area for expats to move into. And the community is very nice and supportive. Everyone know each other, locals and foreigners. Kind of, people are not strangers to each other there. Kind of. So like paddle courts are already there. I think it's a question of time when proper gym and the hospital is going to be open. So I know some people that are working on the infrastructure projects for Kedungu. So I think it kind of becomes a very nice enclave of civilization. After Perinan, we have this more, maybe after Sese, it becomes like much quieter, a lot of empty land, not much things going on. And then Kedungu is kind of going to be an enclave when it's all going to explode again. And we will see a very interesting, beautiful area developing there.
And if you projected like in 10 years, how do you see Kedungu? Like, is it going to be like Canggu? Is it going to be something, I don't know, let's say calmer in a way, because it's, I don't know.
Well, 10 years, it's quite hard to predict, in our world of evolving AI and so what's going to be
AI city, I don't know.
Yeah, but I think kind of general trend of what's going on is that like Canggu and Brava, it will become more like a domestic tourism destination. Kind of what we're seeing already right now. This is not a bad thing. We can see after COVID a real boom in the domestic tourism. We can see that Bali has become a very popular destination for local tourists, and this is also great for rentals. But I think that kind of obviously Kedungu will look like Eco Beach and Batu Bawang right now, and the area of Batu Bawang and Brava will look more like Kuta and Seminyak.
it's important to note because a lot of companies are also making predictions in terms of, hey, it's going to be south of Bali, it's going to be Bukit area next. Everyone's is tired of Canggu, but they're missing out in terms of the land structure of Bukit area compared to Kedungu. It's exactly almost the same as Canggu, where it's easy to find water, but Bukit area, I have one of this client who has to build 110-meter long well.
Did he find water?
Did he find the water?
He did. Last year
He was lucky.
he was trying. 1 meter now, 10 meter now, 100.
There's a
Finally.
Can you imagine if everyone's doing that? What's going to happen to the cliffs?
Yeah.
And I think it's seasonal. They say there is a very well-known hotel that did the same, but they still
Right, but they couldn't find it.
they have it few months a year,
Yeah.
This is a huge limitation of Bukit.
but it has potential.
I remember I was living there 2013, 2014, I think, 2 years, 2012, 2014, so almost 3 years. And I remember there was a very humid, hot summer with almost no rain, and water in the water source in Guagong, where all these water trucks are pumping the water from, ran out. But I am also was switched off, and there was no water for 3 days anywhere in Bukit.
Yeah.
And you would take a bucket and then get the water from your pool if you're lucky to have a pool.
Well, I was there.
Oh.
I spent a week, more than a week, without water. In Pachatu, it was terrible.
Yeah. So and now with so much development going on, all these properties need water, and already if you go in Jalan Luwatu, you can see how many trucks of water. Once you know about this problem, you start noticing those trucks, and you can see that every seventh or eighth car is a truck of water. So every viewer needs to have a tank.
Yeah.
Like I would also suggest, if you're building a villa there, to build a system where you can collect rainwater, at least to use it for gardening, and for mainly for landscaping and garden purposes, and also build a really, really big tank so you can have a source of water, supply of water enough for at least a week. If you get cut off. So this is a big limitation that Bukit has that Canggu doesn't have. In Canggu, you can drill almost anywhere, 25 meters, and then you get the source of fresh water. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse. But if you put filtering system in, which is relatively cheap, you get a decent water. Some people even have drinkable water in their homes. Although I wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah. And how about if we compare it to Ubud? Because some part of Ubud are also growing in the area. What do you think? Comparing Canggu, Kedungu, and
It has its own attraction. Ubud is very different compared to Canggu.
Yeah, first of all,
Main-
different region, right? Yeah, and the beach.
Right.
So administration is also different.
Yes.
So it's Gianyar and Badung.
From property management perspective, because the climate in Ubud is more humid, and you have higher maintenance costs.
Yeah.
Because the humidity is so high. Rain season is much more harsh. Like this year, we almost got very few rains here in the south, and Ubud is just constantly raining during the rain season. So your operational expenses are higher there, and overall the occupancy is few percent lower than it is in Canggu and Bukit and Seminyak, and the average daily rate also a bit lower compared to these areas. But then your operational costs are higher. But the property prices are also lower. So this kind of evens,
Initial phase.
but maintenance, it needs more extensive maintenance, and there, touch up and facelifting of the properties is more significant. There you need to spend more.
And let's go back to Kedungu. Kedungu or Kedungu?
Kedungu.
Kedungu. So Kedungu, if you're looking 1 year back, if you compare it to now, how is the price of the land growing?
In Kedungu,
Doesn't
Fast and furious. How fast
Yeah, it's between 30 and 50%. It's growing in the like by the end of the year. It's probably going to grow another 30%. So the prices are going to be double from what they were, 10 months ago.
I see. And how about the rent pricing?
Oh, there are no accommodation. That's the thing. There are a lot of rukos, a lot of businesses, but a very, very few accommodation. So whenever, someone in the community chat just posts, hey, I have a room available or a guest house or a villa, it's probably sold out the next day because everyone wants to move there, but accommodation is still not there. Some development is going on, a residential development. So yeah, this is still very hot. And
The demand is still there, but it's not so much supply.
it's the only area that I know where the demand is way, way above the supply.
It's the smart and the patient investor is already running towards Kedungu, buying up lands, asking around, because there's still a lot of locals that do own the land without any leasehold to anyone else. People are just going there like crazy. So it's important to understand that Kedungu today, as Mark mentioned before, after Prerenan, there's no other aside from Kedungu. That's where it starts, yes? And it's very important to understand that surfing spots does matter in Bali.
Yes.
Yes.
So
People don't really think about that sometimes in terms of investments.
yeah, it drives traffic into the area. So surf schools are bringing people to learn surfing, and this kind of drags the whole the different industries.
I think what we didn't mention that tourism and everything is pretty nice, but tourism in Bali is like for many years here already. What we did not mention that the administration of Bali, apart from trying to do something about the infrastructure, they do also support this kind of projects such as medical tourism. They call it. So they built. I think they're already finalizing this huge hospital in Sanur, which is gonna be international, and my focus and my interest is the regulations. And I saw that there are some changes in the regulations that are applied to the foreigners, workers, who can get a permit to work here within the medical field, which was before strictly restricted. No way you will be able to get any job here as a doctor or anything, no matter the experience and everything. Now they are starting to drop those restrictions. And what is the most fascinating is that when we talk about Bali and regulations here is one thing, but when we talk about regulations on the national level is the center is Jakarta. And usually the center is not as good communicating with the provinces, usually. But here I see that the province of Bali, most likely it came from them, the idea. They brought this initiative to the center, and the center was listening, and they're doing this. That shows me, I know all these regulations and how all these details and how it all works, and how difficult it is to get some approval and changes and everything. And they did it, and they built this huge hospital, which I guess will also bring a lot of foreigners to Bali. I think the next great idea for those who want to do some business here is going to be retreat centers for people.
All kinds of wellness centers.
Bali, I think, is becoming popular for this restorative, as a restorative place for people who need some mental health relief and generally health support.
With all these restrictions of building, no higher than 15 meters and everything, that's actually has sense. I mean, you can save the nature and save the views and the trees and everything. And that helps you to come to Bali and not find it as some other place, tropical island or anything. you still find the nature here and how the nature is still coexists with the buildings and everything. And I can also find the surfing spot and these new hospitals, and then the beaches, and then the volcanoes and waterfalls. It's like everything in one place, and the place is quite small. Bali is not that big. And you were flying once, arriving in one island, and then you have an access to all those things. So I guess that Bali will just continue to grow from the point of attracting into tourists from other countries.
Mid-term and long-term, there's so many opportunities for the island. So with developing all the areas around Kedungu and Kintamani, the whole Batur area, and there's in the north, of course. It's a great place for families to go to with the calm sea and dolphins and the snorkeling and diving and the nature there, just the peacefulness of it all. Is just not yet very convenient to get around the island, but it's a question of time also when that gets developed, maybe another airport. And this medical project in Sanur is exactly where we need Indonesian government support, bringing big project like this, like Paramount, Studio Park.
Well, I've heard about Apple Learning Center.
Oh,
What is it?
The Apple Learning Center. Apple. So the one that is already approved, they're willing to open the learning center from the Apple here. But the main focus of the Balinese government is actually open some kind of branch of Apple here in Bali. I'm not sure that Apple is going to do that, but the learning center in the relationship with Apple, they said that they got an approval. But now Balinese government should invest in that.
Yeah, so beach clubs probably already enough.
Yeah.
Maybe one.
We have the best, we have the biggest.
But the quality entertainment, parks and things like we really need like good hiking grounds and properly developed hot springs and things like that, wellness areas. This is, I think, is something that has the highest potential and just so much yet to discover.
All right, now, so we have, talk about Bali, about the real estate here in Bali. And now I want to ask you, let's say you are an investor coming to Bali, you have this idea of owning like properties, doing this and that. What would you do and how would you do it differently?
My first is to know your limitation in terms of budget. That's the most important thing. A lot of people come up with a certain amount of number and expect an incredible amount of quality, of views, of incredible architecture that you can expect because people keep saying Bali is cheap, Bali is cheap. Yes, but not that cheap, That's the most important thing to start with. Know what you can expect with what you have.
All right.
That would be my best case for people to start with. Next would be find out the area that you are actually attracted to, because certain areas attract a different kind of tourists. Certain areas, like I mentioned before, like Ubud, it attracts a different kind of people that they prefer the art, they prefer the yoga retreats at wellness center. For Canggu, for Bukit, or a lot of things that is different. Are they a surfer? Are they more towards the party life or the nightlife? Certain areas. So you want to target in terms of where your money would be best suited and know the design that match that kind of tourism. Right? That would be my first recommendation.
Okay.
Or my first step into if I was the investor.
All right. So set your budget, set your expectations as well, and then learn the area that you're targeting. And then once you found the area, you've already set your budget and everything. Next step, what do we have to do?
Next step, once you've selected the area, you just need to find the right partner to guide you through the complexity of the real estate world, and just find a reliable partner to find the specifically right property that you like. help you acquire it correctly with the right contract and everything, and then a management company to take care of your rentals and keep up your property.
I see, but
We happen to do all that.
oh yeah, that's what I heard. But I also know that in Bali there are a lot of property management company, and by I say a lot is a lot. So what sets BNB profits different than the rest of the others?
This actually
them try.
It's actually not. Yeah, that's not completely true. There are a lot of real estate companies, real estate agencies. Because to run a real estate agency, all you need is, a meta account of your previous business that can be, nail salon or whatever, or a laundry. So to run your ads, and you just basically go to every developer. Every developer will be happy to give you their listings. If you bring them the clients, everyone really wants to have as much sales as possible. They'll give you a commission, and then you just run ads, and you're one-man army, receiving leads and closing deals. Good luck. But running a management company, that's a completely different game. I mean, you need to have the whole set of stuff. You need to have the whole set of legal aspect. You need to have all the accountability for a homeowner to trust you with the keys of their property. You need to have a reputation for this. That's why we see real estate agencies emerging. There was a period, I think about a year ago, when we would see like a new company every week running their ads. At like, who are those guys? And you would see so many of them. I would say like 90% of them are gone now, or like gone quiet at least. Maybe run out of the marketing budget. But property management companies, I'd say in 6 years, we've seen maybe just like a handful of companies that are we can still see that they're somewhat active. We've seen more companies disappear from the market because it's a very hard market to penetrate, and it's a hard, it's a hard business to run. Because it's never ending with real estate. You close the deal, and then you can relax and you can wait until the next deal. You can take a break. With property management, there are no breaks. You have to do it from morning until morning every day, 365 days a year, because the guests are coming. The planes are landing, and the properties need upkeep and so on. So there are very few management companies that are actually, and also the profit aspect from it, to become somewhat financially feasible for the founders. It need to grow to a certain number of properties. Until it's we have 50 properties, then it's a microscopic business. That's why we don't see too much competition. That's just very complex. To get to the state where we are at with 200, nearly 200 properties in management, it takes years and years and years, and a lot of blood, sweat, and tears. I wanted to answer your previous question on the advices to investors and what I would do in investor shoes if I was looking at parking a certain amount of money in Bali. I'd say depending on the budget. If I had a big budget to develop a property, I would probably go with building a boutique hotel. I think this is the only niche that is currently less saturated than residential properties or just pure standalone vacation rentals. I think that a hotel, a small hotel that offers something with experience, not just accommodation, but some kind of, facilities, some kind of experiences, is something that's going to work great, where people can, meet each other, kind of like a staycation type of thing.
But when we're talking like small boutique hotels, like how many rooms do you have in mind?
I would say up to 50 rooms, no more than that. Don't go with gigantic properties in Bali. It just doesn't look good. When you build, hectares, it has to be cute, and it has to blend in the nature. It has to blend in the landscape of the village that you're building. Don't do, without calling names, like this gigantic ugly buildings that we see everywhere in Canggu and Malas now. And
at least you know the area.
And well, this is if you have you have expertise, and you have big investment, I would go with a boutique hotel. I really strongly believe that this is something that Bali really needs, like more properties like this. With the like medium size investment with around $500,000, I would probably go with like a bigger villa that is already developed, that is already built and ready for key handover. Something with 3 bedrooms on 4 or 5 hour of land that's gonna do great for rentals, gonna do great for residential or long-term rentals for a family and so on, somewhere in Perinan or Sese or Kedungu, so in one of the promising areas, or Bukit like Benguin, Uluwatu, maybe even Ungasan, like higher on the hills in Bukit. And if like going with a smaller budget, like under 200K, I would probably go with an apartment. It's just something that has a lower operational costs, something that you can really enjoy when you come to Bali, and something that if you're leaving, you can just close the door and don't worry about, your garden being overgrown or geckos getting in or, bats flying in and shitting all over the floor and things like that. So it's something that is very, it's also very easy to rent out for midterm, like monthly rentals, if it's in the right location, daily rentals as well. So it's, I think it's the safest thing to do when you have a lower budget.
Mm-hmm.
Especially a lot of traps in terms of people with lower budgets. They tend to fall in terms of the expected ROIs that developer keep pushing out, saying that we are an outlier. You can get more than this amount. The thing is, outliers are outliers.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone cannot be outliers. It means that, if the deal is too good to be true, most likely it is. Get a second opinion.
Yeah.
And don't just trust, okay, the developer say this. Give it to a property management and then cry in the end.
Ask the people who will run your property. Ask people who will run your property.
Is it true?
Yeah.
Don't go for a surprisingly cheap villa, because that means that probably there are some issues. Like either the building quality is gonna be terrible, or there are some problems in the location. Why the land was so cheap? Maybe it's a green zone or something. Or if you're buying off plan and the offer looks like ridiculously cheap, 100K for a 1-bedroom villa, maybe the developer just doesn't know what he's doing, what they're doing, and you end up with having your villa never delivered to you because the developer made a mistake in his calculations, their calculations.
And don't forget, developer has their own margin for profit too. Meaning that if it's cheap, you have to factor in their profit first. Mm-hmm. So that's the total cost of your construction.
Mm-hmm. It's true. Some offers that we see on the market, like I know the cost to build things in Bali. I know the cost, of furnishing and, the legal side things behind it and the land prices. So when I look, I just don't understand. It looks like they're building it in, losing money. And presumably they have some margin in there. So I completely don't understand what's the trick there. And, potentially this is something that is never meant to be completed.
Yeah.
So we are just stay mindful of potential fraud, question everything and do the full due diligence and, make sure if you're investing in something that doesn't look 100% credible, just make sure you will be able to get your money back somehow. But better don't invest if you feel that something is fishy.
Yes.
Or maybe you find some developer who is building for locals, a local house in a very local area. That can be 100K, but it's going to be very, very small land.
Yeah.
And it's going to be like the neighborhood where your house is a shoulder to shoulder to another house, to another house, to another house. And that meant for local people to live there. It is not meant for investment. It is not meant for tourists to come to that place. Maybe occasionally, maybe for some, expats who are not that financially free and they're looking for something very, very cheap. That could be an option. But anything that is around 100, and it's going to be a local house, not for investment. Maybe someone who is looking for a house to buy and to live, and they don't care. Is it good?
If you enjoy the smell of soto ayam.
Yeah. if you're ready to move into this place and you don't need something fancy and you're not expecting returns on your investment, that could be reason, an option. But the rest, no.
Careful.
So roughly speaking, what is the minimum amount of money that you need to start investing in the right way here in Bali?
Oh, well, it used to be, before COVID, there was a very popular investment model called Airbnb arbitrage, where you would rent properties yearly and sublease it daily. You would find the property, let's say, for 250 million, 300 million. This was the average yearly rent of a 3-bedroom in Brava or in Canggu somewhere. And then you would turn it Airbnb ready by buying additional amenities and, like shampoos and then toothbrushes and towels and everything. And then you would put it on Airbnb for 170, 180, 200 hours a night and reach 80% occupancy. And then you would make about 25, 30% on it. But the problem with this, that if something like a volcano eruption or pandemic happens, you have the highest risk because you need to extract your margin over the course of 12 months. And if you have 1 month falling out, like let's say you had a pipe somewhere in the foundation break down and you had to dig up and you have to close your villa for 3 weeks and you couldn't take bookings, then your margin from 25% becomes 5%. And then if you had another issue somewhere during this time, then probably you were already operating at loss. So it was very risky, but it was very profitable. And what happened after COVID, yearly rental prices went up so much that it doesn't make sense anymore. So yearly rental is just very expensive now, and you cannot do it. So before you could really enter the market with 20K easily, even below that 18,000 US. Now I would say, like, if you do what Lana mentioned, like buying a local house and then furnishing it, making really nice design, and then renting it out long term or monthly, probably you would need around $1 billion.
100K, less than 100.
So
70 to 90,000.
So up to $100,000 would be, to do that. If you are buying an apartment in a hot touristic area that's going to be managed by a management company, then you would probably need at least 150. I would say this is the healthy entry-level investment. But then if you're looking for something proper with a solid cash flow, then I would say 250K and up.
Okay. So 250K and up. Let's say that's the safe.
That's a good budget,
a good
to start,
Because you want something a little bit luxurious to show, 250K usually is an off-plan design, meaning that once it's built, you're the first hand for that property. And it's going to be brand new, going to be pretty. And once you put it on the market, it's easier to compete with the ones that already existed 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 3 years ago. And driving up the occupancy rate from there should be a lot easier.
Yeah, that's the thing. So design trends are changing about every 5 years. 5 years ago, the loft design with polished concrete walls was the thing. Then it was a Mediterranean design with arches. Now it's again something like minimalistic, Japanese maybe. So it's really changing. I think like 4 or 5 years ish every time.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. Like you really have to plan out how it's going to be because the design trends are changing every 3 to 5 years.
Or you just give it to a property man.
Management company are going to tell you in the beginning that yes, your property has high potential. It's in a great location. It has great, size aspect and all the features, but the design is outdated. So like we would bring our interior designer to build a project for you, do the visuals, the renderings and everything, and then source all the items for you and just, give a fresh start to your property with the current design that is in trend.
Okay, and I think there's also one thing that people might be wondering, because there's so many things that you do as a property management company. Then how do you take profits from the sales? Like, what is the system that you're applying? here?
Oh, well, we work with a super transparent pricing strategy. So we take 20% fee on the revenue, and that's it.
Yeah.
There are no hidden fees that we apply, hidden costs or anything. So the homeowner in the beginning, before start, can really predict his rental income is going to be.
Yes.
And we predict it for him. Actually, we give the financial model that actually, shows the monthly yield and yearly yield, and all the expenses are already estimated.
And that includes all the consultations from the interior, how you run the villa, and all the other details.
Yes. It's also important to note that the 20% is from revenue. A lot of other property management mention their own percentage, but it's on the published price.
Oh.
A lot of first-time investors don't know that OTAs like Airbnb and Booking.com takes their own share, which is quite a lot sometimes. Good for them. But that's the published price. If the fee for them, the property management, seems low, it's because most likely they charge it there. While us, we let the OTAs take them first, and then we take the 20% from there. We're actually sometimes, most of the time, are cheaper compared to the other competitors.
So yeah, that commission includes the marketing and management, and
I think this pricing part.
Yeah.
We were all not very. We're sitting here.
All right. So, Mark, Lana, Sadhu, thank you so much. It was an insightful talk. I learned so many things. I'm sure the people watching also learned a lot of things, especially when it comes to property and real estate management in Bali. We're going to have more podcasts in the future, so make sure to subscribe, like this video, and share it, because who knows? Everyone around you might need some little tips when it comes to real estate in Bali. All right, then.
Thank you, Maria. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Thank you.